Every single day, millions of school students pull out their phones and just start scrolling, right? We've all seen it. But have you ever stopped to wonder what's actually guiding their thumbs? It's definitely not just what their friends are posting anymore. There's this invisible, incredibly powerful engine running behind the scenes of these platforms, and it's quietly shaping exactly what they see when they see it, and crucially, how long they stay hooked. Today, we're going to break all of this down in this explainer. We're diving into the scholastic influence of social AI. We'll look at the data, define the terms, and figure out exactly how these invisible algorithms are making a very, very visible impact on students' academic lives. So here's our roadmap for today. First, we'll be defining social AI. Then we'll look at AI in student media. After that, we'll dive into the scholastic impact. And finally, we'll wrap up by talking about navigating the AI influence. Okay, let's jump right into part 1, defining social AI. When we say social AI, what we mean is the integration and application of artificial intelligence algorithms right inside the social media platforms that school students are using. We're talking strictly about the code here, guys. These are highly sophisticated, totally adaptive algorithms built directly into the very architecture of the apps students are on every single day. It's basically a specific application of machine learning that's designed to analyze user behavior. It tracks what a student clicks, how many seconds they hover over a specific image, what they scroll past. And then it instantly uses all that data to curate a hyper-personalized feed. Getting this definition straight right off the bat is absolutely crucial because it lets us move past the super broad conversations about technology in general and focus strictly on this specific mechanism, the algorithmic curation running inside student social media. All right, moving on to section 2, AI in student media. Now, I want you to really think about this for a second. How does social AI interact specifically with school-aged users? I mean, students aren't just passive consumers, right? They are a highly active demographic. They've got specific developmental milestones, intense peer pressure dynamics, and of course, academic responsibilities. So when an algorithm is literally designed to maximize engagement, how does it learn to target the unique psychological and behavioral patterns of, say, a middle schooler or a high schooler? It's a huge question. And to really answer it, we have to look at the massive structural shift in how social media actually delivers content to us. Let's think back to the early days of social media. We used to have traditional chronological feeds. It was time-based, super predictable sorting. If your best friend posted at 3 p.m. and someone else posted at 3:05 p.m., you saw those posts in that exact order. And when you caught up to the stuff from yesterday, well, you were done. There was a natural stopping point. But today, we have modern AI-curated feeds. This is algorithmic, engagement-driven sorting. The feed isn't determined by time anymore. It's determined entirely by what the AI predicts will keep that student on the app for the longest possible time. It's like an infinite, frictionless stream of highly targeted content. If the AI learns that a particular student engages way more with hyper-stimulating short-form videos instead of text, it aggressively serves them exactly that. The predictability is completely gone, and it's replaced by this hyper-personalized engagement-maximizing loop. Really understanding this structural difference is step 1 before we can even begin to measure the scholastic outcomes. Which brings us right to section 3, the scholastic impact. So how does this actually affect academic performance? Well, there are 3 main pillars here. First up, shifts in student attention spans. These AI feeds deliver rapid-fire dopamine hits. That makes it incredibly difficult for a student's brain to just sit down and sustain focus on a dense history textbook or, a really complicated multi-step calculus problem. Second, we see massive alterations in daily learning habits. Because these apps are engagement-driven, it naturally leads to prolonged use. What starts as a quick 5-minute study break, that easily turns into an hour-long scroll session. That disrupts sleep schedules, pushes homework late into the night, and totally fractures that deep, uninterrupted time you really need for effective studying. And third, direct effects on academic outcomes. Honestly, this is just the natural result of those first 2 points. When attention spans shift and learning habits get totally upended by platform design, we see a tangible, measurable effect on grades, information retention, and overall academic performance. This isn't a coincidence. It's a direct cause and effect relationship driven by the architecture of the platforms themselves. And here is the real game changer. The main thing I really want you to take away from this explainer. The active variable in modern academic equations is no longer just the screen itself. It's the algorithm behind it. For years, right? The conversation among parents and teachers has purely been about screen time. Like, how many hours is the screen on? But honestly, that metric is pretty outdated now. Sitting down and watching a 2-hour historical documentary on a screen is fundamentally different from spending those exact same 2 hours interacting with an AI-curated, rapid-fire social media feed. The screen? The screen is literally just the glass. The algorithm is the active variable. The AI is the entity that is actively learning, predicting, and essentially pulling the student's attention away from their academic environment. Once we recognize that distinction, we can completely change how we actually address the problem. And that leads us to our final section, Section 4, Navigating the AI Influence. We can't just talk about the problem, we need a framework for navigating it. Drawing straight from our source material, here is a logical 3-step approach. Step 1. Acknowledge the AI curation. We simply cannot fix what we don't understand, right? Educators, parents, and honestly the students themselves all need to be educated on the fact that their feeds are being actively curated by engagement-driven AI. Dragging this invisible mechanism out into the open, that's the very first step toward real digital literacy. Step 2. Monitor scholastic and attention outcomes. We really need to pay close attention to those specific academic pillars we just talked about. Are we seeing a student's ability to focus on long-form reading start to slip? Are their study habits getting super fragmented? By treating these things as actual measurable data points, we can objectively track the influence of these algorithms. And step 3. Implement balanced mitigation strategies. Now notice I said balanced. This absolutely isn't about taking some overly aggressive anti-technology stance or pretending we can just, banish smartphones forever. That's not realistic. It's about creating structured tech-free zones during study hours, encouraging deep work habits, and teaching students how to purposefully interact with their devices, rather than just passively surrendering to the algorithmic feed. As we wrap up this explainer, I really want to leave you with this final, kind of provocative thought. How will the educational landscape adapt to the continuous, evolving presence of curated social AI? Think about it. These algorithms, they aren't going anywhere. In fact, they are only going to get smarter, more personalized, and even more deeply integrated into the digital lives of students. The traditional classroom is now permanently sharing space with the engagement-driven algorithm. Just understanding this reality is a massive first step. But the next step? Well, that's up to all of us. It's about how we choose to adapt, guide, and protect the actual process of learning in a world that is increasingly curated by AI. Thank you so much for hanging out and exploring this fascinating topic with me today. Keep asking those big questions, keep looking at the data, and I will see you next time.